again by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner, gets left center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani. Around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal.
Three in the face, 1-1. Score! Off the floor! On the board! Paul Kariya!
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Forever Mighty podcast. We've got quite the show. It's good to be back. Holy shit, it's the hockey season again. That's kind of what I feel like. I mean, I don't know what you guys have been feeling like, but...
seconds in and a swear word.
That's the way it goes, dude. I've been waiting a long time to talk, and we've done many shows without him, so it's nice to get back on board. Welcome Steven to the show. Steve's going to be contributing. Something's burning in his house, it looks, and Jason's in somewhere else. And I don't know. We got a lot of weird backgrounds. We've got a very interesting start to the season. But thank you guys for tuning in and waiting around for us. Eddy, are you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here. I'm
we just can't see Ed.
Intro.
Those of you who are new to us, you can never see Ed. Ed can only see us. It's like a weird thing he's got going on. He's like Wizard of Oz.
It's an odd fetish.
The wonders. Yeah, there's Dave already in the chat saying I have a couch fort in my background. Every show there's an issue with my background and where I'm recording.
No one likes what your background is.
I already knew going in.
Out of all the backgrounds, you get crap.
I knew all day I was recording in a room I've never recorded in, and I knew it was going to be mentioned within the first couple minutes of the show. And Dave,
Eddy is undergoing extensive background checks.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on.
Boys, 2 nights till Ducks hockey. Tomorrow we got the NHL. I think Emily Kaplan tweeted today there's like 112
116
consecutive days of hockey are coming across the NHL. That's insane.
So,
Feels good. Feels nice.
How many consecutive days did we have for the bubble? That was a lot, right? That was a decent amount.
There was a lot of hockey in that amount of time because they had that playing round, all that stuff.
I'll take it.
It had to have been.
No Zegras, though.
But no.
I had to, guys.
Well,
sorry.
where do you want to start, Ed? Now you kind of just tossed out the hottest topic that's across Twitter right now.
I didn't even hear what.
With Zegras, did you want to talk about?
No,
Zegras?
I don't want to talk about Zegras. I'm upset. how it went. We'll get to that. All right. We'll start with this. If you're joining the show, we're supposed to be breaking down the Ducks season, projecting the roster. So we have to start with a few different things. The Ducks placed 9 players on waivers. Anthony Stolarz, Andy Walensky, Andrew Poturalski, Chase DeLeo, I don't even know what his first name is. I'm guessing it's Vinny Lettieri. That just sounds like a Vinny. Sam Carrick, Andrew Agazzino, and David Backes, and then Christian Juice. And Christian Juice was claimed off waivers by Detroit, which was a sad day for Dave and a lot of Ducks fans. Not everybody. Some people are more realistic, but...
I think I wore black all that day and that night and the following morning. And then when I talked to anybody about it, I wore black. It was just that sad of a day.
What we have to mention about it is that means he beat out several players on this roster that just doesn't make sense to me. I think that's I don't care that he got taken and we didn't get anything in return. There was no trade or whatever. But the fact that he lost out to like Hakanpää and Larson, I don't understand how that works.
We can't even see training camp, so maybe he did great. Maybe he just was not good.
Oh, wait, what do you mean? There's the Ducks didn't do any streaming footage? Who does that? Oh, just everybody else.
the one thing I think to say, though, about Juice is, wasn't Juice's cap hit like 1,100? Was it 1-1?
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was over 1, his contract extension or his 1-year extension.
I think he had $1 million.
Why they waived him, because they were trying to finagle the cap, because Bob Murray doesn't think about when he signs the contracts, just later down the road.
We'll fix it later.
Years.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be.
He's on the
I
red
didn't think about that.
$1 million.
But
million.
So you'd have to see how that compares to Larson, but we know the Ducks like Larson no matter what. I don't think he would have been a candidate to get sent down. I mean, he has more NHL experience, or at least more experience playing for the Ducks than any of the other guys we listed, Hakanpää or Curry or Juice. But I mean, I'm maybe a bit surprised that Hakanpää didn't get sent down over him. Like I said, we couldn't see training camp, so who knows how bad Christian Juice was. Cody Curran's waiver exempt, so that wouldn't have factored in it either way. So he really did just lose out to Larson and Hakanpää, because Mahura is also waiver exempt, and he could get sent down, and Benoit was also waiver exempt. So he loses out to fan favorite Jacob Larson and Yanni Hakanpää, who played a handful of games last year. You know, it's disappointing, but I'm not going to say it's the worst. You know, it's not a Shea Theodore type reaction. You know, right? Christian Juice played 9 games for the Ducks last year, looked pretty good. Who knows if he was going to make an impact this year? And at the very least, it opens up a spot potentially for Josh Mahura, and now we have Ben Hutton, who comes in and fills a little bit of a different role.
We have plenty of third pairing defensemen, so it's like, oh no, we lost one. All right, we got 5 more. Who wants to kind of just fill in maybe a little bit of a minus? Oh, we'll sign Hutton, a professional tryout, and we'll see what happens. But at that point, it's like we didn't lose the top 5. We lost to 6, and name somebody else who can just step in at this point. Although Juice is fun to pronounce, so I get it.
Yeah, I think the thing about, like, I'm definitely one of the people that was bummed to see him go. I'm really high on him. I think for me, he is a proven capable defender. Like, the degree to which you knew every night Holzer was going to be bad, he is that for competent. Like, he's just good. He's just fine. He would be one of the players I would be the most comfortable moving into a second pair when an injury happens. Of, him and Hakanpää, and, we have no idea about Curran or anything like that. So I don't know. I just think for me, like, he had a high enough floor that he would have brought stability, and he could play both sides of the blue line.
Do you think his role kind of got eliminated the moment we signed Kevin Shattenkirk? Not to say that Juice was a shoe-in to be top power play, but Shattenkirk comes in and that's his spot, right? We look at Juice's usage at the end of the season last year. He was getting put on the top power play because the Ducks couldn't figure anything out there. And then, he's more of an offensive defenseman rather than he, has an impact on both sides of the game. Not to say he's bad in his own end, but I feel like, his role kind of got filled, or the potential role he had as being an offensive catalyst for the Ducks from the back end by Kevin Shattenkirk. And now you look at what the Ducks are likely trying to get out of that bottom pairing. It is kind of a shutdown type role. And you look at Ben Hutton comes in. Jacob Larson is a two-way defenseman. Yanni Hakanpää is 6'4", 220 pounds. He plays a certain role for the Ducks when he's out there. And you do have Cody Curran, who's waiver exempt, who can fill that offensive defenseman role. Again, we don't know how Juice did in training camp. Maybe he had a bad training camp whatsoever, but it almost feels like the Ducks had enough guys that could play that way, that they wanted to take the chance, send him through waivers, and maybe he could rotate in for some of those guys when they need a bit more of an offensive presence in the lineup.
I mean, yeah, you could say he was maybe sheltered a little bit just because most of his starts were in the offensive zone, but he's also a third-pairing defenseman on his team. So it's hard to read too much into his usage, really. They're going to put a guy that's, if he's not in a top 4, where is he his strongest? That's the offensive zone. So I like Jay was saying, it doesn't really hurt. But also to Steven's credit, too, it's not Kravini and Holzer, and I would have much rather had Christian Juice than a number of defensemen on this team. So it's kind of sucks, but, I mean, it's not going to kill us. And this team's already not looking like a playoff team.
Yeah, I think he's a hole plugger. Like, I mean, even if, like, there's an injury somewhere in there, and then maybe he kind of gets up into that. But I feel like Larson probably does all of that anyway. So, I mean, I just feel like Juice would just probably be that bottom third for the most part. I feel like they got enough guys that can plug holes. They don't necessarily need all of them. And, yeah, I think it was maybe, hey, he's got a lot on the contract. Let's put him down. Let's hopefully he squeaks by. Didn't get that way. Detroit picked him up, and then we got caught a little bit. But I felt like it was a calculated risk where, hey, if we put him down, we got other people that are going to fill that same plug that he could have done, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly fair way to put it. Like, he definitely wasn't losing him wasn't a huge risk. It was, we've got a couple of these guys. He's got the highest cap hit maybe, so we're going to move him down, give ourselves the wiggle room. Worst comes to worst, we lose someone we like, but not someone we need. So I think you're absolutely right on that. I just think for me personally, I would have rather had him than a handful of other players.
Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing him play. Like I'm not gonna lie and say, you know, I'm severely disappointed that he got claimed off waivers by Detroit. But out of all those bottom pairing guys we mentioned, he was probably near the top of my list of a guy I wanted to see get a chance and see if he could stick in the lineup.
Easiest name to want to say too.
Yeah, the juice is loose. We lost that now. It's Detroit's thing now.
The juice is loose.
You know, there's always these players that, you know, for some reason they're fan favorites everywhere they go. I mean, if you ask Caps fans when Chris and Juice came over, they were devastated that they lost him. I don't know whether that's because of his name or because of his play style or whatever. And it's the same thing when he leaves the Ducks. We only had him for 9 games in an off season. And that's it. And you know, a lot of people are upset.
And Dave wants to marry.
I mean, I guess that speaks to the state of the franchise right now too. We're all pretty upset over losing Chris and Juice, but
or Grant. If you lose Grant, I mean, the Ducks lost their mind.
Well, we always know he'll come back though, because he always finds his.
I know.
So he's a boomerang.
One guy we have to talk about if we're talking about bottom pairing defenseman is Brendan Gooley. Announced that he's out 6 weeks due to a sprained knee ligament. When we talk about disappointing and not being able to see guys play, I think this is pretty high in the list. You know, the main piece coming back in that Brandon Montour trade. You know, Braden Tracy is slowly making his way to the Ducks lineup, but this was the only player that we got back for Brandon Montour, and hasn't been smooth sailing for Brendan Gooley so far. And obviously, this is kind of puts a damper on his story so far with the Ducks. But you know, it's 6 weeks. We'll get him back hopefully mid-February. And hopefully he'll work his way into the Ducks lineup, because along with Mahura, like, this is the 2 most promising prospects the Ducks have in terms of being close to NHL ready.
Yep.
Well, I mean, is this why they brought in Ben Hutton? Because that's
filler.
It just seems like it. No, I know it's not, but it is kind of a massive blow to the Ducks, right? This is one of the young defensemen that has a lot of promise that we keep hoping is going to make that step. You know, he's had nights where he's played really great, nights where he hasn't looked so great. People say he needs more seasoning, needs more of this, more of that. I don't think we've seen enough of him at the NHL level on a team that's decent enough to give him, you know, a score as to what he really is. So it's pretty disappointing to lose that guy for 6 weeks, especially because it happened during a scrimmage. So that sucks. So bummer for him. But you know, this season, I don't think it was really going to be telling for anybody as to who's going to bring what to the table. So hopefully he gets well and gets back in the lineup so we can see him at some point.
I think you're right in so much as I don't think this season is going to make or break any player's career. But I do think because of how odd the schedule is, this is going to be a good opportunity for us to see how Aikens makes adjustments. You know what I mean? When you play the same team 3 times in a row, like, if you're not changing things, you're not learning. And that in and of itself is going to be something we're going to see a lot of. We're going to have the opportunity to learn. Is Eakins the kind of coach that we trust to make in-game things and changes like during a playoff series down the line? But the other thing is, I think you're going to see which players fit the system. And that's the thing about Gooley, who on paper, right, Eakins wants to play a more up-tempo skating game, but still be, you know, responsible, all that coach crap. Gooley is kind of the guy you look at as being able to do that, right? He's got the skills to make a first or second pass. He's got the skills to skate with the puck. He's young enough that he can grow with Eakins and things like that. So I think Gooley, more than some of the other players, it's a bit of a bummer. Like, Cam Fowler is what he is at this point, and I don't think he's going to change much under Eakins. I think is kind of what I'm trying to say.
At this point, can we just trade Brendan for his brother Caden, and just they look close enough alike that maybe nobody will notice. And it's Montreal. I mean, let's be honest, Bergevin's not going to notice the difference.
Were you guys waiting for Corey Perry to get picked up today?
Kinda.
I knew it wasn't going to happen, but I wanted.
It wasn't going to happen, but kinda.
Like Party was like, they just dropped Kristen Juice for $1 million. They could just sign.
They
Corey
just needed
Perry.
that excuse.
They already have him signed.
Play him on defense. He's a right-handed
He's
shot.
already being paid $6 million. Let's sign him for another $1 million.
Exactly. Why not?
Eddie, did you say put him on defense?
Yeah,
He's a right-handed
He
shot.
can barely skate going forward.
I would.
stay-at-home defenseman Corey Perry.
Why not?
The only way I would use Corey Perry right now on the Ducks is like, hey, bench minor, Corey.
Yeah, he's your spare guy. He's your 13th forward
boss.
for the night.
Just need you there for a little bit until we get this all sorted out.
The only problem with playing Corey Perry on defense is he's going to fall in his own goalie.
Hey, if we're
Very
tanking
true.
throw and power, is that such a bad thing? All right, let's cover. Let's cover some of the AHL's assignments because there was a bunch yesterday, a few the day before that. Not really super surprising here. Braden Tracy, Jacob Perreault as part of the new NHL-CHL agreement for this year with no OHL season. Perreault and Drysdale are able to play AHL until the OHL has a confirmed start date. Antoine Morin, Jack Kapaka, Benoit Olivier Groux all sent down to San Diego. That was the first wave. What? Did I miss?
Irvine.
Oh, sorry, to Irvine. Yes, they're playing. The Gulls are playing at Great Park Ice. If you guys haven't heard for this year, which basically means there is literally a walk down the street for them to come up and play for Anaheim. So
depends if there's traffic.
Really, the taxi squad means nothing. Now, I know the Ducks are practicing at Honda Center, but literally the Gulls will be practicing in Irvine, which is not. I mean, it's essentially the same thing.
It's like 15, 20 miles away.
Josh Mahura sent down. Jamie Drysdale sent down today along with Trevor Zegras, which bummed a lot of people out. Lucas Dostal, Pat Uralski, DeLeo, and Simon Benoit all sent down to San Diego. Some of those guys could potentially make their way to the taxi squad because you do have to get sent down or clear waivers to go onto the taxi squad. I doubt it. Most of those guys seem like they're going to get time in San Diego. I think maybe Mahura is the only one who could potentially jump up, but when we get to projecting the roster later, there's a few guys in front of him right now who make a bit more sense. So nothing super surprising with those assignments there.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
Go between the taxi squad and the rosters. They should have just expanded the everyday roster.
Yeah,
You
why?
should not.
Yeah, why is there a taxi? I get yeah.
I think it's like logistics, right? Because of cap?
Well, it was just a way to scoot around the cap. That's all it was.
Well, that, and then the other part of it too is it's about having players with the team that you can call up, so you don't have to call someone up when a guy gets hurt for 4 games and he doesn't show up till game 4 because of quarantine.
Right.
But so, like, I understand why, like, technically they would still have to clear waivers in a normal season, but like the whole reason you have this is because it's not a normal season. So to me, I just think it's dumb that they're gonna kind of defeat the purpose of having it by making the players clear. I just think it's stupid. That's all.
Yeah, I think they complicated it where it could have just been, like you said, just expand the roster and we're all there. But making this weird taxi squad where, like, all of a sudden, like, if their salary is this way or it's AHL or NHL, and if they're 2-way and they got to clear waivers, it's like you just added a whole bunch of complications to the whole thing. And it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And then it's like, well, who do you put on a taxi squad that can't now play at all or do anything with the AHL? So it's kind of weird to have, like a Trevor Zegras. Why would you put on a taxi squad on the opportunity of possibly playing? Because if he's a guy like that, you'd probably want him to just get games in, get reps in the AHL versus, hey, I'm just going to practice with a team and learn what it's like to be an NHL player at practice and never get to play, or at the most get 7 games in here and there. Just like, let that guy go and be good in the AHL. Why do one of these things?
Or let him play in the NHL. Let him make the opening night roster. I don't understand. I don't understand the idea behind it.
So do we want to do this right now then?
Yeah, let's do it right now. We're already on it.
Let's do it. Steven's ready to do a tag.
Oh, wait, Everybody's ready to talk about Zegras. Listen, like I wanted to see him play. I wanted to see him get a shot in the lineup. I understand why they're not doing it. I mean, the Ducks do this with almost all their prospects. They get them AHL time before they come up. I know with his performance at the World Juniors that got a lot of people hyped and, for good reason, expecting him to potentially push for a roster swap because of that. But, looking at the comments that Eric Stevens put out from Dallas Eakins today is that they want him to get a bit more development time. And not only that, him and Drysdale just skated for the first time, I think, Saturday. Like, that was their first introduction to Ducks camp. Like, these guys are going to need a bit more time anyway. And, Eakins said in his comments as well today that, we don't know how long he's going to be down there. Could be 1 day, could be 2 days, could be a week, could be a month. It all depends on how well he, transitions over and how long it takes him to get game ready. And, not surprised he's not on the ice in the lineup for Thursday, but it doesn't mean 2 weeks from now that he doesn't make his NHL debut. I still think there's a chance that they could promote him up sooner rather than later. He just needs time to get up to speed.
That's the thing I think too, right? That's the thing about it for me is I like that he's going to go through a pro level training camp. We can have a lot of issues with the way the Ducks organization as a whole runs, but the one thing I think you can say is that under Murray, there does seem to be a standard level of professionalism that goes from the top to the bottom and goes through San Diego and that kind of stuff. And so I think having Zegras get a 3-week training camp around professionals and with a coach and have a slightly less, just a kind of a less stakes way to kind of learn the system, learn kind of what it's like, to play every day that way. I think the training camp can be good for him. So, I think, like Eddie said, I think he's going to be up sooner than later. I don't think there's anybody, unless he just isn't ready, there's nothing in front of him to stop him from taking a spot, especially if they're fine playing him on the wing for the first year.
Now, is his name Zegras or Zegras?
I say
whatever
both.
you're feeling in the moment. I'm pretty sure I said Eakins and Akins when I was talking about that. I always say Eakins.
Want to see where we're all at.
And then somebody will say Akins, and I can't get it out of my head, and then I'll say Akins.
Zegras and Akins.
It's the same with Drysdale and Drysdale. I hear both.
Drysdale?
What it is.
Drysdale.
I've heard it before.
That's a Canadian thing.
Oh, that's 100%. The Drysdale is Canadian.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was Cam Robinson who I heard say that on Dimitri's podcast, and they were all like, "Drysdale, eh?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is Canadian, so I love it."
Yeah, I think it's you gotta be able to drink milk out of a bag before you can talk like that.
All right.
Eddie's mad. All right, Edward, what's next?
How do you not put Trevor Zegras in a lineup after he got a goal and an assist defeating Canada at the World Juniors? I mean, how do you not put him for opening night? I don't understand.
3 days of training.
I don't
3 days of learning the Ducks system, how he needs to play, where he's going to play, who he's going to play with. You just can't just drop that on a, 18, 19-year-old?
The Ducks don't even do that with guys who get a longer run-up. Like they mentioned, Cam Fowler's the only guy who's been pumped right into the lineup. The Ducks have openly admitted that was a mistake. Yeah. And everybody else has had to play some AHL time before they made it to the NHL.
You guys are a giant wet blanket on the franchise.
Do I want Zegras playing on Thursday? For sure I want Zegras playing on Thursday. That's no question, but is it good for him? No.
It's that I don't want him to get ruined like fucking.
You don't want him to play against Stone and Pietrangelo on Thursday? I can't imagine why not.
Yeah, that sounds like so much fun for him.
The only argument is Zegras is the highest profile prospect we've had, maybe since Korea, in terms of just offensive potential.
Bobby Ryan.
Maybe Bobby Ryan. Yes. Maybe Bobby Ryan as well. But
I think you have to go Bobby
Stands
Ryan.
like Cheestoff?
I think since Bobby is a good comparison there, and even Bobby Ryan got AHL time, did he not?
He did.
Yeah, and for the record, you know who Bobby Ryan's line mate was his first year in the pros? George Peros.
Well,
He played on a line with George
Zegras
Ferris.
with Grant
So,
and Delorier. Here we go.
there it is. Let's make it happen. Can you imagine Derek Grant, the ultimate I only score in a duck sweater guy, and Trevor Zegras, who might be one of the best playmakers the franchise has ever had? Just the sheer raw chaos. We might get a pretty cool season out of Derek Grant.
You wouldn't want to play with Backus? You don't think Backus could keep up with him? I know you were very happy about that one.
The moment I saw that, I knew he was getting sent down because
It's hazing. It's hazing. Making that poor kid play with David Backus, who even at his best was a
Hey,
offensive talent.
you know what's
they
surprising?
were both Boston at one point.
Milano got beat out of a roster spot by Isaac Lindstrom to play on the wing, potentially. Because Milano was relegated to that extras line with Backus and Zegras. So it looks like he's probably not playing on Thursday.
Zegras is right wing,
Yeah,
right?
he played. I guess he can play across the front three.
Since we
I've
have
seen him play
first
left
five.
and center. I guess they were like, okay, you can play on the right today.
So good.
He's good at his playing hockey.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. We've mentioned on the podcast before, and we've been talking about Zegras and where he's going to play. The Ducks have liked to play guys they think are going to be centers at centers until they're not. I mean, we saw it with Raquel. Obviously, Isaac Lindstrom came out of the draft and played 7 or 8 games at center for Anaheim. Now he's being shifted to the wing to kind of make way because they don't really have a lot of room with Getzlaf, Henrique, Steele, and Grant down the middle. But it is showing a bit of a shift here that they're willing to play Zegras on the wing, and ultimately, I think in the NHL, he's probably a winger. I think his skill set works better as a winger.
Oh, Pat, that's wet blanket. Saying that Zegras is not the number one center of the future.
Do you think he
I'll tell
plays
you
center
why.
with the
It's
goals?
because-
I don't.
It's because Eddie doesn't want there to ever be a good American centerman. He wants him to only be Canadian.
On the Ducks.
You guys have Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel, all right? To take it and run.
Austin Matthews is maybe one of the top 2 players in the
Okay,
world.
that's
So yeah, I'll take that.
I'll agree with Ed here. I like Zegras on the wing. Like, on the wing, that's what he did in World Juniors. And I felt like he didn't have as much responsibility to being the first guy back, first guy forward, guy forechecking. He's not that big of a guy, but he's a guy who can kind of slow things down, set people up. And like Patrick Kane, just a really great winger that can make plays, make assists, make goals, hopefully, at that level. I'm not saying he's at that level, but I'd much rather have him at the right wing right now than try to put him in center and trying to funnel him into that Duck side. I need a elite center number 1 guy. I want him there, and then centers are a lot, in my opinion, easier to come by. Good goal-scoring wingers and playmakers on the wing, there's a lot harder to come by.
I would disagree on that. That's a topic of conversation for another show.
Okay.
I think we'll see it in San Diego, right? Benoit Olivier is playing center for San Diego. There's no question about it. He's playing at the center position. Outside of him, Antoine Morin can move to the wing. It seems like Isaac Lindstrom is sticking with the Ducks, and they're playing him on the wing. So there could be an opportunity for Zegras to play center in the AHL. For me, that will be telling in terms of what they want to do with his development. If they play him on the wing in San Diego, they see him as a winger.
That's that. Yeah, no, that's for sure. If
What
you
a-
have the extended time at center in the AHL, he's a winger. That's it. No, for real. Because I was right. They're not gonna not play him at center out of spite. You know what I mean? So like, if he gets down there and they're like, "Oh no, you're a winger," then it's like, "Oh, okay, he's a winger now."
Yeah, well,
True.
that's what happens.
All right, let's move on to the roster. We'll go over quickly the players who are left, who haven't been sent down to San Diego or who haven't been placed on waivers. There's not many. The roster,
That's a love activity. These are the guys who are left.
the guys who stuck around and haven't been sent down yet. We have.
Are you gonna give a warning and prepare people for how ugly this list is before
we
you
all
read
know.
it? So
It's the
if
same
people need
roster as last.
Warning.
We all know. That's all.
There's no change. Nobody knew. So from what we've heard, Aiken said today that 2 lines are set. It's Raquel, Henrique, Silverberg, no surprise there. Delorier, Grant, and Rowney, again, no surprise there. Those have been the Ducks' first and fourth lines we knew that those were going to be guys who were put together. Getzlaf has been with Heinen, it seems, for most of training camp. Originally, he was also with Milano. Milano seems to have kind of fallen to the wayside a bit, and Isaac Lindstrom is taking that left wing spot recently to play with Getzlaf and Heinen. It seems like he'll play there for the opening night, I guess, which is now the Ducks' second line. Steele is still skating with Terry and Comtois, and that leaves Jones, Milano, and potentially Backus, even though he got sent down on waivers, as the Ducks forward group going in. So they've got 14 forwards. They will presumably start the season with 13 on the roster, and a few guys are waiver exempt in Lindstrom, Comtois, Steele, and Jones. If you guys had to pick, I know we've got the roster here. Who's your 13 guys going into the year? We'll start with you, Pat.
Oh man. Oh boy. Okay. So we already know Raquel, Henrique, Silverberg, Delorier, Grant, and Rowney. So we just need the other two forward groups, right?
Yeah. What's your second and third line? And then your spare guy.
I would absolutely go Steele, Terry, and Jones on a line together. And then I would also do... Well, you got to have Getzlaf play hockey still, right? So he's going to be on the team. Jason's face. I would do Getzlaf. The hardest part about guessing these last guys that I would put on this team, or picking these last guys that I put on this team, is that we haven't seen anything. Like, usually you get to go to training camp and watch scrimmages and not see who's playing. I'm not sold that Lundström is all of a sudden this player that's going to be able to hang on this roster. I mean, I hope so. But Getzlaf, I would like to see Getzlaf play with maybe Comtois and Heinen. And then my extra guy would be Milano.
I can't dispute it. I mean, we're not going to be too different here, considering we have two concrete lines and 14 guys to pick 13 from. But Jay, what are your lines outside of the two that are confirmed here?
The two, and the other thing is, I wouldn't put Henrique, Silverberg, and Raquel as the top line. I would still consider them the second line. I would still think that Eakins or whoever you want to call them would be putting Getzlaf in every situation where he could succeed offensively, and that's your top line. So I feel Getzlaf's there because we have almost no depth.
Even though he said he would be fine with taking a roll step backwards.
Oh,
like Getty said he wants someone to come in and take over.
He's absolutely okay with taking a step back, but I just don't think he's a second-line center yet. I think him and Henrique are kind of at that passing point, and at this point, I still have Getzlaf better at faceoffs, better at passing, better at doing everything. Don't get me wrong. They were right there points last season, and I think at the end of this season, Henrique's probably a little bit better. And by next season, Getzlaf's new contract, he accepts a different role. This season, I expect him to be the top center. I expect, unfortunately, because we don't have a lot of right wing depth, Heinen will probably end up being there because we don't want to ruin the Henrique, Silverberg, and Raquel line. So Heinen's on that side. The left side, I got to see what Milano is going to do on that line. I feel like he's got a lot to prove. There was a lot he was trying to prove when we got him. And then the season kind of ended, and there wasn't a whole lot of him being able to prove what he was doing. But he was a fan favorite, and he was doing really well. Just wanted to see a little bit more, and I feel like he could possibly do more than what Lundstrom might do on the left wing side. So other than that, I think that's that line. The third line, I think, is going to be the kids, and that could be either Comtois or Jones on the left side, but it's definitely Steele or Terry on the right. And insert whoever you want on the left side.
All right, Steven, who do you got?
For me, the one I would like to see is Getzey and Jones play together. And I just think you need to keep Steele and Terry together just based on complementing skill sets. So I feel like for me that kind of answers it. It seems like they're going to play Heinen. That's fine enough. I think, the thing here is we already know two lines. So as much as we may want to move different people around or whatnot, we kind of already have to go with it. So at this point, it looks like it's, Jones, Getzey, Heinen, and then Comtois, Steele, and Terry or Milano. Either one there is fine. But for the extra forward, I want Lundstrom. So I think he's the perfect 13th forward. Because for me, I think if he develops, he's going to be cognizant.
I think when we look at the guys left, I mean, Backes I've included here, but he's a taxi squad player. I mean, he got sent down on waivers. He's not going to San Diego. He's going to be a taxi squad player. I can't see any other spot for Backes. I don't think he makes the opening day lineup because the Ducks have a fourth line already, and I can't see him playing anywhere up in the lineup. From there, we've got 14 guys, and maybe the Ducks run with 14 for Thursday just because, Ben Hutton might not be ready to go at that point. Just coming over to the team. I don't know how much he's practiced, but I'm sure it can't be that much. So the Ducks might run with 14 forwards, which means we see 2 extras in Milano or Jones, whoever, for game 1. But after that, I think we probably see them run with 7 defensemen, with Hutton, Hakanpää, and Larson being 5, 6, 7. From there, you have to place a guy on waivers to go on the taxi squad. So Milano, for me, sticks with the Ducks because they're not going to want to put him on waivers. He's going to be either the extra forward or swap in and out with whoever is the extra forward for the Ducks, which means that one of Jones, Comtois, Lundestrom either gets sent down to San Diego or activates on the taxi squad because they're all waiver exempt. And from what we've seen, Lundestrom is skating with Getzlaf and Heinen, so it seems like he's going to play Thursday. And Comtois really hasn't been separated with Steele and Terry. The only guy left out at this point is Max Jones. And, he is an easy set. I know, and I don't want to see it either because I wanted to see Max Jones play, but the Ducks have so many guys on the roster that, you would probably lose them to waivers if you sent them down. Obviously, Troy Terry you would lose to waivers, and Sonny Milano you would lose to waivers. So one of these waiver-exempt guys is going to go down. I don't advocate for Max Jones not getting any playing time. I'd rather him being in San Diego, but the Ducks need a taxi squad. And waiver-exempt guys are going to fill up this taxi squad because, it's just easier to have them there. You don't have to worry about putting them through waivers and calling them up and sending them down. So it looks like he's going to start Thursday as a taxi squad guy, which for me is disappointing. I would have liked to see him play, but I don't know how he gets in this lineup unless he checks in for Lundestrom at this point.
Yeah, and that comes down to coaching. And if the coaches look at what they've been looking at through training camp, and if he's not outperforming Lundstrom or in their minds, then it is what it is. So you either got to outperform the other person or you get sent down or on the taxi squad or whatever.
Who's the player you guys are most hyped about this season that it's not one of the kids? Not one of the kids.
Zegras again?
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to get hyped about it. I mean, I would have said Comtois, but he's considered one of the kids for this lineup. So it, maybe for me. I guess it would be the new guy in Kevin Shattenkirk to see what he can do and see if he can bring a little bit of offensive flair to the Ducks blue line and help revitalize the power play. Other than that, we kind of know what we're gonna get from a lot of these guys.
Raquel.
That would have been my second.
I want to see Raquel do well. I mean, he's been subpar the last 2 seasons after signing the contract, and it's team friendly, so that's great. But I mean, we need somebody to show up. We need somebody to show up on the wings other than Silverberg. That would be great if Raquel is. You don't have to be center. You got Adam Henrique there. Love to see what that guy could actually help us out because we need help on the wing here.
Steven?
Yeah, it's hard. I think, if you don't count him with the kids, I think it's Milano and Heinen. I think Heinen just seems like he's going to be a do-it-all defense-first kind of guy. And that's fine. When you're looking at the roster in 5 years, he's the kind of guy that you have on a second or third role that plays meaningful minutes in the playoffs. But genuinely excited, maybe Gibby.
Yeah.
I love Gibby. I love when he's playing at his best and he's feisty and he's making crazy saves. I love that stuff. Manson's always my guy just because he plays hockey the way I like. But there's not a lot to be excited about this season. It's disappointing to say, but as much as I'm excited to watch hockey and to watch these guys come back, there's nobody that I'm like, I want
beyond
to see
the kids,
play
right? It's beyond the kids. We all want to see the kids play. We all want to see Zegras play. We all want to see Drysdale play.
Yeah.
That's why it was a tougher question because everybody wants to see the kids do well and play. It's my pick for. I want to ask one more question about Raquel. Over or under 20 goals this season, guys? He hasn't hit it in 3 seasons.
In 56 games too. You have to remember that.
Under.
So that's like a 30-goal pace on the year. I'm gonna say under. I would love for him to hit 20 and 56 because that would mean he's back.
He had 65 games last year, 15 goals. 69 games the year before, 18 goals. 77 games the year before that with 34. That was the last time that he was above.
And at that point, that's the pace he would have to be at to hit 20 and 56.
As much as I would love to see him do that, I can't imagine in a shortened season and shortened, condensed schedule where all of a sudden he's even better in the second game. So for me, I would say under, but I would hope he's really close to 20 at that point.
I'm going to give you something here, Pat. Here's what I'm thinking. 5 goals in the first 12 games.
Uh-huh.
Then the team settles. And he gets traded and hits 20 on another team.
Okay.
I'm telling you. He's going to get traded, and I'll take the over.
Somebody's getting traded this year, I feel like.
I think he's the best candidate to get traded.
On the team that they'll pass.
Yeah. He really is at this point kind of the prime candidate to get traded in terms of guys who have value. You look at the contract he has, and
he has the extra year on the contract too. It's not just this year; he's got another year at $3.8 million.
Yeah, that's the age, the previous production. Now the Ducks would be selling low on him at this point, unless he starts off hot. And even then, you're still kind of selling low because teams are going to say, well, he had 2 good seasons and then 2 bad seasons. What is he? Is he the 2 good seasons? Is he the 2 bad seasons, Raquel? Is he in between? We don't really know at this point. So no matter when you sell him this year, unless he gets off to just an unbelievable start, you're selling low. So you're not getting what you would normally want to get in return for a player like that. But the Ducks might have no choice. Like if Zegras pushes for a roster spot, if he makes it impossible for the Ducks to keep him down there, the Ducks are going to have to start looking at some of these guys and saying, we got to move them. Like, there's just not enough room for this many wingers on this team. With you look at guys like Jones potentially missing out, and obviously Zegras missing out, and, some of the guys that they do have in San Diego that could push for a roster spot too. Like, eventually some of these guys are going to have to get moved out.
Are you taking the over, the under then?
On 20 goals? Under. I think he maybe could hit 15. I think even 15 and 56 would be a decent year for him.
I'll take the over as well. I think he's going to have over 20 goals this season. But I'm not sold he's absolutely going to be traded. I would like to see him go for a really good asset, but I'm not sold he's going to be traded. But I think he's going to have over 20 goals.
We have to remember the expansion draft is this offseason too. So that will create a flurry of moves at the deadline, which the Ducks might take advantage of as well.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me here, and bringing up the expansion draft is actually, I think, a great point because I think 15 to 20 games in, Bob Murray is going to have to, well, let me say this. 15 to 20 games in, we are going to know what the team is, one way or the other, right? If it is the team that he magically believes can push for a playoff spot, we'll know. If it's the team that we all seem to kind of think it is, which is middle of the lottery, we're going to know. And so if we get there, then he's got to start looking to move pieces out, especially if he can get picks and guys who are expansion draft exempt. That would be huge. So, I think guys like Raquel or Silverberg have a good shot at finishing this year somewhere else.
I'm saying 8-4.
No, that's a good point too.
8-4 after 20 games. That's what I'm going with.
Oh, are we predicting here?
8-4 after 20 games. I haven't even looked at the schedule.
7 games.
Just knowing he's in this division. It could be worse depending on how many times we play Colorado and St. Louis. And obviously we open with 2 games against Vegas, which we'll get to.
Oh,
Let's do that. Let's go around the board and everyone predict the first 20 game standing. Like let's do that.
I like that. I'm gonna be the optimist here. I'll go 11-7.
Do the math. 2.
What's left? 2. Did quick math here. Hang on.
Steve?
Yeah, I
don't know who they play.
I think I'll go 6 to
Minnesota.
Eddie, type this on the docs. We can refer back to this after 20 games.
Steve, what did you say? 6 wins?
Yeah, I think it's 6-10-4.
It's not off.
Here's the thing I wasn't thinking about, because I know you.
Mine's really sad. Actually, you don't want to hear mine.
What?
You don't want to hear my standings that I predict.
Like, I know you always know the full schedule, and so you kind of have an idea who the teams are. But like, there's a difference between having 1 or 2 winnable games out of 6 and having 3 or 4 games against a team you're confident you can beat. That will change the way teams go about the deadline, because they might think that there's a strong chance to finish really strong and make a push for the wild card spot.
I feel like there's 5 teams in a really small area, and then you got your Colorado, your St. Louis, your Minnesota, that all have to try and come down here a little bit, and it's not necessarily so much of that travel or that wear and tear. And at the same time, it's the same teams you've always played. And quite honestly, San Jose, LA, I mean, they're going to kind of be with us. Vegas is another story. But I feel like those teams coming in and playing us a little bit more often, I feel like might give us a little bit more of an edge in that first 20. And the Ducks know you got to start early. The other problem is the Ducks and the Kings and the Sharks also don't know what it's like to play in an empty stadium. So they also might be a little bit disadvantaged. I don't know. Go, Pat.
5-13-2.
It is.
We're all pretty close here. That wasn't the worst. Nate in our chat had 5-14-1. So that was the lowest one. We had a couple 10-7-3, 9-7-4, another 8-8-4, and Keith had a 7-10-3. So you are the optimist. You had the most wins out of everybody.
I'm the optimist. With 11 wins.
Dave said the Ducks play Minnesota twice, Arizona twice, San Jose twice, and LA once in the first 4 weeks. I don't know how many games that is. It's less than 20 in the first 4 weeks, but
they played Vegas, Minnesota, and Colorado in the first 6 games. This is not going to be a great start for the Ducks as they come out and somehow pull these victories out. That's going to be a tough first 6 games. I think so. Just even getting a win on those first 4 is going to be tough.
11 wins.
I'm just concerned about the offense here. I'm not too concerned about the goaltending. I'm really not too. I mean, I think the defense has a lot of room for showing what they really could do. They haven't been great the past couple of seasons, but we've seen Manson and Lindholm have really strong years, and I think they're poised for a bounce back, like a lot of other guys we've talked about on this team, like Raquel and Gibson. And I'm not too unsure about Kevin Shattenkirk. I think he's going to play great as well. So there's the forward group that I'm just like, I don't know what to expect from this team at all. I don't know who's. We said it the past years. Who the hell's scoring goals? Obviously, Raquel hasn't been. So we need someone to come in and build a score for us to win. Oh, hey, I just did a Jim Fox. But seriously, that's what makes me have such like a dismal outlook at the first 20 games. That's the hard part for me.
Completely with you. I think if the Ducks are legitimately competitive through the first 20 games, it will be because the power play is doing well. Because that is going to be the closest bet that they have to generating offense. 5-on-5, I just don't think they're going to have it. But now that they're bringing in a new body on the power play, a legitimately new body, not just, like Kevin Shattenkirk is going to have the puck on his stick. If he can turn that power play around, there is a chance that some of these young players can pop early. Raquel hits that 20 goal mark, right? If he's scoring power play goals, and Gibby playing well, which we all know he can, that's easy. You can scratch your way to 7-8 wins that way, no problem.
How easy is this division going to be for Colorado, Vegas, and St. Louis? The other teams, we're talking about the Ducks can't score. LA can't score. Arizona certainly can't score. They were just as bad as the Ducks last year. Minnesota, I would put right in the middle. I think there's a clear line. Like, they brought in Kaprizov. That's a myth. Like, is he good or is he not going to be good? It really is a top 3. A guaranteed top 3. I would be surprised to see anybody else in that top 3 out of Vegas, Colorado, and St. Louis. The rest of the teams have scoring issues. San Jose has scoring issues. Anaheim has scoring issues. LA, Arizona. it's going to be a mess for those teams. The only saving grace I could see for the Ducks is John Gibson. What kind of year does John Gibson have? Because we know from watching the Ducks over the last few years, John Gibson can win the Ducks games on his own.
He's the best goaltender in the Western Conference. Period.
He's the best.
He's the best goaltender in that division.
Yeah, easily.
There's nobody really close to him. Like Colorado has Grubauer, LA has Quick, Lehner in Vegas, Kemper in Arizona, Bennington in St. Louis, and Cam Talbot in Minnesota. Like nobody really gets close to him. Maybe Bennington, maybe Lehner, but not really.
I think Leonard's second with a bullet there. I think Leonard's good.
Yeah,
I like Leonard there. I think I would like to say Fleury, but I don't think he's going to get the opportunity over Leonard. And I think Leonard is right there. No one's better than Gibson.
Yeah,
I would agree. No one's better than Gibson, but I think Leonard's right next to it. I think Kemper's. I put Kemper in between both Leonard and Gibson, and at any given time, I think he might actually outplay Gibson. Just given the team in front of him, I don't know. It's rough.
Jay, what'd you think of the comments? Did you read that article about Gibby where they said that his technique or his it might be outdated already? He doesn't work on his craft enough. That was a very interesting Athletic article.
Yeah, it's interesting if you don't know goaltending very well, but they want to look at like the goalies that do the splits and they do those amazing saves, and you go like, oh my god, that's the new generation. Physiologically, a lot of goalies can't do it. Carey Price cannot do the splits. He cannot get down like that and move the way he does. But every single year, he's top 3 amongst GMs, coaches, goalie coaches. He just has the technique down. So there's a difference between your physiological size, your ability to do the splits, your technique. All of that comes into play. Your compete level, your willingness to find it. Vasilevsky has a 6'5" frame. He has the ability to do the splits, and he doesn't ever give up on a puck. That is your quintessential goalie that you'll ever go for. Every goalie is trying to emulate kind of what he does, and they do it to varying degrees within that. So Carey Price is very good technically. He can't do the splits, but he doesn't give up either. So he's got 2 of the 3, and he's very good on that third one. Gibson is very good from a technical and also on not giving up on it. His physiological thing is he's not doing the splits. You're not going to see him do a splits deep down, post to post, legs out. You're not going to see that. So when people see that and they don't see him doing the splits or doing, these acrobatic saves, they're going to say, oh, he's old school. He's a little bit tight and he's a little bit.
Well, that was a goalie coach. Unnamed goalie coach.
Blocking. I'm just going to do that guy. He's very good. He's very technical. Yes, he cannot do the splits, but he does a lot of other things very, very well.
Outside of the Russians and maybe Jonathan Quick, what other goalie does the splits on a routine basis?
There was a Czechoslovakian one in the World Juniors that I looked at, and in the first game he played, he made an outrageous save. He was in the splits and then just jumped over and grabbed it with his glove. It reminded me a lot of
You know who
Quick,
can do the splits? Lucas Dossel can do the splits. There we go.
Yeah, he's very good. He's absolutely great, too.
One interesting comment before we move on from the West teams. Dalton brought this up. The Ducks are actually 10-9-3 against those new West teams last season, so Colorado, St. Louis, and Vegas.
Add one more, and we got 11.
There's a debate going on in the chat here about where the Ducks are going to finish. We didn't really cover the Ducks defense. We'll get to that after this. We might as well cover this division right now. There's a serious chance the Ducks could finish 4th, which would put them in a playoff spot. I don't think San Jose, I don't think Arizona, I don't think LA are significantly better than Anaheim. I think their main competition there for that last spot is Minnesota, depending on how well things gel for Minnesota. They've got a lot of turnover this year. If John Gibson's the X factor for the Ducks. If John Gibson plays at an elite level, the Ducks will claim that 4th spot likely. Goal scoring beside, we already mentioned, there's a lot of teams that can't score in this division, and the 3 ones that can are the ones that are going to finish 1, 2, 3 in this division. Outside of that, I don't think it's impossible for the Ducks to finish 4th when you look at the rest of the teams in this division.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I don't think it's at all. I think, like I said earlier, I think the two things that if the Ducks have a winning record 20, 25 games in, it's going to be John Gibson is going to be in the Vezina conversation, and Kevin Shattenkirk is going to have the power play up around 15, 14, 13, like top, ranking-wise. If it's in the top half and they are getting a decent amount of goals and elite goaltending, that's it. That's the difference. Because two of the teams, San Jose and LA, are, just as bad as the Ducks are, with arguably less upside. Although, I guess, if you're San Jose, you're counting on everybody just having had a bad year last year. But you have two bad goalies. So, and then, LA's terrible, and then it just comes down to Minnesota. And, Minnesota has a great defense core. And so
LA's just terrible. I love the assessment.
It's one of the things. It's like, I don't think anybody thinks the Ducks are a playoff team on paper. But they got a bit of a lucky draw on the map, and so now they've got a shot at making the playoffs, which is why Bob Murray can come out and say things like that and not seem like an idiot.
Yeah, I would say, if we're trying to rank who's going to get in, obviously you got your Colorado, your St. Louis, and your Vegas. And the only difference I would probably put is that I think Arizona and the Ducks probably have maybe the same offensive output, and maybe Arizona's a little bit better. And then I would think Arizona actually has better goaltending, or at least on par goaltending, with the Ducks in this instance. So
you love Darcy Kemper,
Ducks
don't you?
Just
That's me. I love Darcy Kemper, dude.
I do too. I thought he's been great the last.
I'm not saying he's bad, but on par with what the Ducks have.
He's not as good as Gibson.
Like their goaltending is better than LA, and it's definitely better than San Jose. But
your goaltending is better than San Jose.
No, it's impossible. I don't play anymore. We've been locked out.
If you had a training camp to work up, it'd be good.
So,
go ahead,
if John Gibson has a .920 save percentage,
which you won't,
and the power play. That was my question though. That I was going to ask about Gibby before we moved on, which is fine. We can ask it now. And Eddie, did you actually give your standings prediction for the first 20?
Yeah, 8-4.
Okay, you did. Okay, I wasn't sure if you're reading that off the chat or you read so many numbers. Do you guys think Gibby has an over under .920 save percentage this season?
Under.
Damn, .920 in 56 games. Under, but slightly under. I think he probably finishes with like .917, .918.
I'll say
struggling. Under.
Unfortunately.
How many people are always over .920?
Pat's got the over on Raquel getting 20 goals and Gibson having a .920 save percentage, but we'll still say the Ducks won't make the playoffs.
No, I'm saying if they make the playoffs, it'll be because he has a .920. So I wanted the over under on that, and so I think he's going to have a .920 save percentage. I think he's going to have. He's got a lot of people to come after.
Because you have Raquel the over on 20, Gibson the over on .920 save percentage. Do you think the Ducks are a playoff team?
I think they finished fourth. Yes.
All right.
Where did Steven go?
I think we lost.
Disappeared.
He might be back, but
he hung up on us.
There he is. He's back. One thing we have to cover because we didn't do it on our roster breakdown. We didn't cover the defense. It's not a long discussion here because it's we know most of the guys are going to play. Lindholm's playing with Shattenkirk. Fowler's playing with Manson. Larson and Hakanpää are likely going to be the bottom pairing. And whenever Ben Hutton is cleared to play, he'll be the seventh guy. Curran is the only waiver exempt guy, so he's probably taxi squad. I mean, this the forward group was pretty easy to predict. I don't see how this goes any differently at this point. There's only 8 guys, and only one of them is waiver exempt, so it's likely that he is the taxi squad guy. I
am so excited that Hampus Lindholm's going to play with Kevin Shattenkirk. Let me just say that. Very, very, very excited about that. Takes a lot of pressure off our boy for trying to put up offense, which, as much as I would love him to do, it's difficult for him to be that guy. So let Shats do it. and let Hampus do what he does best and protect the blue line. I think that's a perfect pair for the Ducks.
I agree.
Not happy with
Did you want to see
Manson,
Lindholm
Lindholm
Manson?
again.
Dude, that's like, dude, Lindholm Manson is just like my favorite pair in the world because it's like, hey, this guy is so fundamentally sound that he basically can just kind of do whatever he wants on the ice. Like, he can go wherever he wants and it doesn't matter because Hampus Lindholm always manages to use his somehow remarkably large ass and skating to just be where he's supposed to be. And Josh Manson just is Josh Manson. And every now and then Josh Manson has a rush and he scores a goal and you're like, I don't understand how that happened. And it's just chaos. And at one point, they were one of the best 3 or 4 shutdown pairs in the league. I don't care what anybody says. I'll take that. I will
Years ago?
sink on that boat. But I also don't think. I think we've also seen that Manson Fowler doesn't work.
Oh yeah.
And I would rather just take 2 offensive-minded defensemen and just let them go.
I'm worried about Fowler Manson.
I am. I really am.
We've seen it both be good and bad at times. That's the thing. I really don't. I mean, more bad than good. But there have been a few stretches where Fowler and Manson were actually a good pairing. I'm excited for Lindholm Shattenkirk. But I would honestly be, worried about Fowler Shattenkirk just as much as I'm worried about Fowler and Manson. I might be more worried about Fowler paired with Shattenkirk than I am with Fowler paired with Manson, just because I don't know who to trust to play defense between Fowler and Shattenkirk when they're together. I mean, Shattenkirk has been brought in to be an offensive presence on the blue line. I'm not sure pairing him with a guy who makes his money being, gets out of his zone efficiently and is kind of a puck carrier up the ice in terms of Cam Fowler is the greatest pairing for Shattenkirk. So I'll take that downside of Fowler and Manson to have Lindholm with Shattenkirk and let kind of Shattenkirk do whatever he wants.
Why haven't Lindholm and Fowler ever been put together consistently?
Because Fowler's bad.
Lefty.
Fowler's good at offense, and Lindholm's good at defense. That should translate to goodness.
Because Fowler's bad.
Because Lindholm is 26 years old and you can't haze him.
Bad at defense, I get it, but Lindholm's not good at offense, so.
He's not terrible at it.
Lindholm's
He's definitely just doesn't have that shot.
He somehow
Lindholm's
puts up
not-
over 10 goals a season, Lindholm does.
He just 6 in a season.
Because Lindholm is good at hockey. And when you're good at hockey, sometimes hockey gods are just like, yeah.
You're gonna have to talk. You're gonna have to talk to Pat because Pat thinks Fowler's good at hockey too.
Sometimes.
Fowler's good at some things, but he's also very
He's
bad
not
at
good
other
at
things.
defense.
He's good at exits and entries.
He's
You know why that
really
is?
not good
He's
at
fast.
scrambles in front of the net.
One skill, skating. That's
Yeah,
it.
Fowler's good at that. Did you see that little twirl net he did that one year?
All right, we got to cap the division standings because we didn't give our final standings. If you had to predict, was it 7 teams in the Honda West division? What are your final standings?
So-
Yeah, the Honda West.
It's 8 because I forgot about Arizona.
Okay,
That's good.
Everyone's 8 except Canada. Canada needs a handicap, and Canada gets a bit more.
you're
right,
not going to get
So
that.
everyone says Colorado number 1.
Yeah, Colorado's number
Yep.
1 for me.
Yep.
I'll
Now
take Vegas.
number 2, I got Vegas.
Yep. Vegas.
St. Louis.
No, I got St. Louis.
I'll
I
take
can understand
Vegas.
that.
Colorado 1-2.
That's what we got too.
No, he's
Yeah,
got
okay.
Vegas 1.
It's only Eddie.
He's got Vegas 1.
Oh, you got
Colorado
Vegas
2.
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
Vegas won.
Yeah.
Over Colorado?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a fire behind you, but no one's looking. All right, so number 3, I got St. Louis. Yada, yada, yada. Top 3, we're all
Yeah,
good.
Vegas for my
All right,
final. Yeah.
number 4, I got Arizona.
I got Anaheim.
I got Anaheim just over Minnesota.
I'm going to go with Minnesota.
All right. No one agrees. Well, here we got 2 Anaheims. Okay, and then number 5, I got Anaheim, just behind Arizona for me.
I have Arizona at 5.
I
Yeah,
got
Arizona.
Minnesota at 5.
Okay. Number 6, I have Minnesota. Arizona.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Arizona.
Yep.
at 6.
Minnesota.
Now they're really important. The last two California teams. I got LA ahead of San Jose.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, jeez. You guys I got San Jose. San Jose, LA for me. Who do you got, Steve?
Actually, do I want to take San Jose for that 6th spot?
That's what I
think I do.
Oh, for 6?
I think I'm going to go San Jose 6 and Ducks Kings within 3 points for the last 2 spots.
Oh.
So that,
Wet blanket.
not quite sure what it was, but all right. So I got LA and I got San Jose, especially after Evander Kane can't seem to keep his money in check now.
Oh, he said he's playing. He's going to play this season.
Possibly not playing this season.
He needs to play to pay off the debt. He's got to play it the rest of his career.
No.
All right.
That's the funny part. It's like if he plays, then he owes even more if he says, "No, I can't play." That's the weird. It's all weird.
That's we got to talk about that on Pucks and Brews for the next one.
I know that's a whole other.
Yeah, it'll be our Patreon Pucks and Brews show.
2 things, and then we have listener questions. So one really quick thing: Anthony Stolar signed an extension, which doesn't mean much other than the fact that now the Ducks have a second goalie that meets minimum exposure requirements for the expansion draft. It means they can protect John Gibson.
And they really like him, too, and so do the players. So
yeah,
really like Stolarz.
He's not a bad player. Like the extension on its own right, I think, is well-deserved. He could be, the backup after Ryan Miller leaves until Lucas Dostal is ready. Like, it's a filler right there. I'm fine with that, but obviously the Ducks needed to make this signing so that they can meet minimum expansion requirements, so...
Yep. You have to have 2 goalies.
Yeah, nothing really to discuss on that. The last one, which I'm sure we'll have some discussion about here, is that Pierre LeBrun kind of stated that the Ducks would be interested in Pierre-Luc Dubois. He didn't say specifically that they've inquired or put an interest. He said he brings up the Anaheim Ducks because they have a lot of young assets, and that Pierre-Luc Dubois, with his age and skill set, would be a player that he believes would interest the Ducks. I think Pierre-Luc Dubois interests 30 other teams in this league.
That's what I was going to say. Everybody wants that kid.
But he isn't wrong. The Ducks do have young assets that, you can move out 2 or 3 guys to bring in Pierre-Luc Dubois, and you kind of eliminate 2 problems there. You bring in a potential number 1 center, and you clear up some of the logjam for some of these guys who are looking to make their way into the lineup. So if that's a, Comtois, Terry, first-round pick, whatever, I mean, the package for Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to be immense, whatever it is. But what do you guys think? Like, obviously we would want him here. What are you comfortable having to give up to get a player like that?
Gibson and Zegras.
Getzlaf, Cal Silverwood.
No, if you really had to make a trade for Pierre-Luc Dubois, he plays center, no?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I'd be comfortable trading Troy Terry for him, obviously. I'm pretty sure I'd be comfortable trading, Josh Manson for him, along with Troy Terry. Right? Pretty much open down the lineup. You could just pluck literally anybody.
The Ducks signed me, and you'd be happy trading me over too, right?
Pretty much. You could pretty much pick anybody off the Forge group, and I would be okay with it. I could see Raquel being traded.
Yeah. That's the one I was going to say there. I mean, if you're Columbus, if you're trading Pierre-Luc Dubois, he's submitted a trade request, by the way. That's why these trade rumors are out there. Even though he signed the new deal,
he just signed.
Yeah, he's asking for a trade deal, but they signed him so that he could play and that they could trade him with a contract. He was a RFA before this. I think Raquel is part of that discussion, and if you're Columbus, you probably want a center back. I know they're going to play Max Domi at center, but you would have to think that potentially, in terms of a roster player, it's either Raquel or Henrique. And then from there, you kind of work out what the prospect's going to be. So if it's Raquel going the other way, then maybe it's a Steele or Lundestrom or somebody that can play center. If it's Henrique going the other way, then you look at Jones or Terry or Comtois, and then you probably throw in a pick there, like a 2022 first, and that kind of makes up the package there. I don't think the Ducks are really looking to move a defenseman at this point. I think it's a package of forwards, prospects, and picks, but if this is a deal you can make without really hampering your prospect pool, this is one the Ducks should be on to get that number 1 center, especially if you think Zegras is going to be playing on the wing. And I think Pierre-Luc Dubois, with his size and his skill set and his ability, he kind of fits what we've known to be that prototypical Ducks player as well.
Yeah, he's a big kid.
6'3",
6'3".
what could be interesting in, I wonder if you gave them Comtois and Terry and Raquel and Henrique and took back Brandon Dubinsky, who makes the same as Raquel. I think that would be a very interesting way to go about it.
It's a lot of players.
It's a long front line.
It's a lot. The thing is you're not losing anybody you're super high on. Like, I would trade everybody but Zegras and Drysdale. That's it.
Just who's gonna come in and replace those guys at that point?
Doesn't matter. They're not on the team yet. They're going to be on the team in 3 years.
I love Steve's style, man.
Yeah. Hey, F it. I'm talking about now, not later.
5 years, 6 years. They have Drysdale, Zegras, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Dude, I'm in. I don't know.
So here's Steven's call over to Columbus if he's Bob Murray. Hey, we want Pierre-Luc Dubois. And the guy's like, what are you going to offer me? And he's like, pick any 5 guys on the roster except for Zegras, Drysdale, and Gibson. And then give me 4 guys you don't want, and I'll take Dubois with it. There you go. That's the trade.
He's going to cost a lot. He is. He's a 50 to 60 point center who's 22, who's got size, who's got skill. He's likely going to be a 70-point player for the prime of his career. Like, these guys don't get traded often.
You know what would be interesting?
But unless the Ducks are going to have more in the pipeline to support that, you're literally getting rid of a giant piece of your core, throwing it away, hoping this one guy gets 70 points and everybody else maybe gets 30 or some odd.
The only 2 guys that maybe you're losing argument here is Terry, and you also said Comtois, right?
And
how old's Raquel? Is Raquel like 35? Everyone thinks she's on like a stretcher.
Right, but
27.
27. All right. So
he's on the downside of the sheet.
I thought this would be a short discussion. There's no way this is going to be a short discussion. My point is, like, if you're trading Comtois, Terry, Steele, whatever, we don't know exactly what they're going to become. The chances are, and the good chances are, they're not going to become a player like Pierre-Luc Dubois. They're just not. They're not going to be as good as he is. Do you package 4 of them for Pierre-Luc Dubois? Probably not. Do you make a deal like we had kind of talked about here of Raquel and 2 of them in a pick? Yeah, I think you do. Pierre-Luc Dubois is better than Rickard Raquel. He's a number 1 center in the NHL now, and he's only 22. He has plenty of room to grow. He's a bigger guy, so it's going to take him a little bit to kind of round out his game. You make this trade if you're the Ducks. If it's 2 of your prospects that aren't, Zegras, Drysdale, Perreault, kind of the big names, you've got enough other assets in the system. Braden Tracy's still coming, and Benoit Olivier Groulx's still coming. So if you trade Sam Steele, you've got other players in the pipeline.
All right. First of all, it needs to be a game where anytime Eddy brings up Olivier Groulx, somebody has to drink.
Whenever I can, I will.
I'm already drunk.
I will always bring him up.
I think Eddy has to drink.
I think the thing to remember is if the Ducks traded for Pierre-Luc Dubois, he would be the best player on the team. With the exception relatively of Gibby, he would be the best player on the team. There is nobody you can trade that would bring more to the Ducks by keeping them, is my thing. And so I just think, like Eddy said, if you can get him, you do it. Like, I love Lindholm. I love Manson. I would trade almost anything but them in almost any other circumstance. But if it's Pierre-Luc Dubois on the other end, like you can have it.
He's given that it's a known quantity. He's not a prospect. Like, he's not this 6'3" center that's coming in that maybe scores 30 goals. He almost had 30 goals his second season. He had 27. He had 18.
He's not even Kirby Dack, who we're excited about, right? He is right now a number 1 center in the NHL. 30 goals under John Tortorella, who literally penalizes his players for scoring goals.
Yeah, that's why everyone's left. They hate him. Exactly.
Yeah. So anyways, I think I made my point. I'm sorry.
Compelling argument. This is a 15-minute conversation. A good call. at the end of the show.
Yeah.
We'll pick this one back up because I'm sure it will come up again. These rumors aren't going to die until he gets traded. I don't think he spent.
What is the chat saying? Any remarkable trades in the chat?
Everybody loves Pierre-Luc Dubois. Nade said Steele Jones Terry 2022 first round pick. Dave said Jones and Terry for Dubois. I'll tell you a little bit more than that. Some people saying that the only untouchables in terms of prospects are Perreault, Drysdale, and Zegras, which I would agree with. And Keith said it's hard to want to trade defensemen anymore after the last few years. If I were the Ducks right now, I probably wouldn't trade another defenseman. I would be looking to move on from a forward. Before I trade Lindholm or Manson, I'd be looking at trading Raquel or Silverberg or Henry before one of those guys.
Trade Miller.
Ryan Miller? I would add Dostal to maybe that list of untouchables, depending on what the trade is coming in return. Just because I don't want to move him. I love him too much.
All right, here's my question. I want to know where you guys are at on this. Dubois for Gibson straight up?
No, because I think you can get more for a player like John Gibson in terms of like an elite top 5-10 goaltender in this league.
Yeah.
You can't touch Gibby right now
until you know what Lucas Dostal is.
Yeah, is Dubois a top center?
Wow.
Because you can get a lot of good centers that are pretty close to Dubois. You can't get a lot of good starting goalies like Gibson.
I agree that it would be harder to replace Gibson theoretically, but I also think you can see. I also think you can look around the league and see that all you need is one season of good goaltending, and there's a lot of up and down between those seasons. And if you can bring in a guy who's gonna play 80 games, that's huge.
No,
there's not a lot of guys I would take for John Gibson.
No. Not for the Ducks. The Ducks need goaltending. If they have goaltending, if they don't have goaltending, they have nothing.
The one thing I don't agree with, though, is that it's easy to go out and get a player like Pierre-Luc Dubois. I don't think it's easy to go get a first-line 60-point center who's good in his own zone. Now,
I think it's hard to get a good goalie.
Hold on. But time and time again, history shows us you can win a Stanley Cup with a slightly better than average goaltender. You don't need a top 5 goaltender.
Jordan Bennington.
Yeah, Jordan Bennington. Corey Crawford's not a top 5 goaltender. He just retired, but I mean, he won. I think
after
with Chicago.
Drafted him in fantasy, he retired.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that sooner, right?
That's where Eddie stands.
All right, let's move on to fan questions, and we'll wrap up the show here. We had a lot of stuff here. Chris was the first question. He asked, is Perry done? I think this was post-waiver clear. Is Corey Perry done?
No, he's on a Texas squad.
Yeah, but is his career, is he ever making a consistent, is he playing 60, 70 games?
No. He's not making fourth line at all. He lucked down and gets a taxi squad this year. That's about it.
If you can't make that Montreal squad, I don't know if you're making many other teams out there.
That was my comment. He didn't make Montreal. He's not making it anywhere else.
I don't think it was that he couldn't make Montreal. It's that Montreal took his contract and him on the taxi squad and get that off of their salary cap. So he's literally not on their salary cap. If my understanding of the taxi squad is correct, he gets to go be on there and can jump in whatever he wants, and he's not on the salary cap. Unless I'm wrong.
Yeah, it depends on what his contract is, because I think
it's at $750,000 a year.
Okay.
For 1 year.
Yeah, okay. So then he makes basically AHL money. I meant if he was a one-way or two-way, because if he was one-way, they're going to pay him NHL money no matter what, if he's on the taxi squad or not.
Well, they pay him, but it wouldn't count against the salary cap is what I was saying.
Yeah, but I mean, would you want to pay a guy $750K to not play when you could put a guy down there and pay AHL money?
When necessary, yeah.
I think his career's over.
Yeah. I mean, his career's a starter, right? So
I think this year is kind of his make or break year this year, and by big I mean 6 or 7 goals, but they're timely. He looks like he's doing okay. I think you can definitely see him getting another deal next year. if he doesn't play well this year, I think it's most likely the end of it for him.
It's just in my opinion, it's a swan song. He played in London. He's Canadian. He gets to play for Canada or Montreal or whatever, the Canadians. This is just it. It's like, in my last year, I'm getting paid $6 million by the Ducks. I'll take the league minimum salary right now. I'm still getting paid for the next 2 years. I just want to play for a Canadian team, and here I am. And hopefully Montreal does well, but I just want to say I play for a Canadian team. It's a swan song, in my opinion.
To London.
He's done after this.
He moved back to London. And the only two teams that seemingly were in for him were Toronto and Montreal. I don't want to say, because I don't know, that he was only looking at Canadian teams, but it would make a little bit more sense for him in this point of his career, with everything going on, to be able to stay within the country and stay a bit closer to home. So I don't think he's, obviously he's disappointed. I'm sure he wanted to play and wanted to make the team and be an important player for them. But I can't. If he gets another contract after this year, I would have to think it's with another Canadian team. I don't really see him going abroad unless it's, a one-day contract to retire with the Ducks. I can't see him moving out of Canada at this point.
Well, you know what's interesting, and I didn't think about it that way until you just said it, but if next season, right, the world is semi-back to normal and like we have a border that you can cross, I do think it becomes easier for him to play for some of those Northeast teams. He could maybe play for a Detroit. He could maybe play for a Buffalo. I mean, I think technically Buffalo is farther north than Toronto or Ottawa, something like that. Just the weird geography of borders. If it's an open border again, it does make it easier for him to sign somewhere else. But with that not being a thing yet, it definitely makes more sense for him to stay on the other side.
Yeah, he's closer to home if he plays in Buffalo than Montreal. So, let's go through this. We got a few more questions here. We'll kind of quickly buzz through these. Dave asked which Ducks forward finishes with the most points and which Ducks D-man. We'll go one by one here. Just name off your Ducks forward that finishes with the most points and your Ducks D-man. We'll start with Steven. What are your guys?
I will say Max Jones and Hampus Lindholm.
With the most points at the end of the year?
Yep.
I like it.
Guys.
Jay,
I'm taking.
Who do you got?
And they're both gonna have 7.
The whole 7?
7
Is it
combined.
my turn?
Yeah, your turn. Go.
I'll do Shattenkirk. I think he's getting more on the power play.
Pat?
I'm going to go with Sam Steele, and I would also go with Cam Fowler on defense.
I like the shout for Sam Steele. Mine's got to be similar here to Jay. I'm going Henrique and Shattenkirk. I don't see, if that line isn't getting split up, I don't see how one of those three on that Adam Henrique, Raquel, Silverberg line don't finish with the most points on the Ducks. And then Shattenkirk, with all the power play time he's going to get, I just see him finishing with around 25, 30 points. I don't see another Ducks defenseman really coming that close to it. Maybe Lindholm, but those are my
Gibson, 1 goal, under or over?
Definitely under, because the Ducks are never going to be in a position where he's going to be able to shoot on an empty netter.
Under.
So you got to set the line at half, though. Oh, wait. You guys have to deal with me now. We're answering this. Killer Seals, penalty minutes on the team. I'm taking Getzey on that.
Oh, Nick Delorier. He's going to fight a few
Yeah,
people.
Delorier.
I think he'll fight Getzloff at some point.
Delorier's going to fight Getzloff in a game?
It's going to get that bad. Dave asked another question. He said, what would you say is the X factor besides Gibson standing on his head that would get the Ducks into that 4th spot in the West?
Special teams.
Power play.
2 special teams, Steven?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's special teams, but just to continue my thing of saying things just to be annoying, I'll say bringing the Calder Trophy to Anaheim.
Yeah, Trevor Zegras.
Ooh.
I like that answer. Yeah, for me, it's the young kids. They're production this year if they take a step forward. So that includes Zegras in that fold too, but obviously Sam Steele and Trey Terry, Jones and Comtois and Lindstrom. Can they?
Benoit Olivier.
Can they take that next step forward? That's okay. Well, this question is from Shane. I just want him to know that I'm going to skip his question.
Good. I knew about what underwear you were wearing.
Pretty much. Matt asked.
No, he says how long is too long for Eddy, and how much Bacardi would it take for him to exceed limit? I'm asking about podcast runtime, obviously.
No, he's not.
He's not. I forgot you had access to the emails. Matt asked, why does Bob Murray keep losing young NHL capable defensemen with upside to pay veteran NHL defensemen with no upside? With Shea Theodore, I agree. I don't know if this is referencing Kristen Juice and Ben Hutton, but I feel like it is.
Well, I think we kind of covered it in the fact that Juice might have been your sixth guy again, then maybe your seventh guy or your eighth guy. It's not a loss. I mean, you had Pettersson, and Pettersson was going to be your sixth guy or your seventh guy. We got rid of him to maybe get Sprong and hopefully get some offense. That guy didn't really produce any on the defensive side, so we couldn't really get in. So it was kind of like I don't want to say gamble, but they thought, we'll get rid of our sixth defenseman. We'll get a guy who might be our top 9 forwards somewhere in there. Didn't work out. We traded him for getting back our third guy, and we kind of lost him in that whole shuffle of trying to put him through waivers. So once again, I don't feel like we lost a whole lot. We just lost a guy that we can easily replace.
He also asked, I'm assuming ironically, of course, who would you prefer, Shea Theodore or Kevin Shattenkirk?
Shea Theodore.
Yeah, that's why I think it was.
That's not even close. That's Shea Theodore all day.
We would all. I hate talking about Shea Theodore because it just makes me sad.
I like how you conveniently skipped over the World Juniors today too, bud. Thanks.
You talked about Trevor Zegras. What, you want me to go more in detail about how he won the gold medal? I wanted to break down
the gold medal game. Then I wanted to play. I wanted to play some videos I found online of people shitting on Canada. So
yeah,
you can see that for
people got really upset about that trash can, which wasn't a trash can. That was ridiculous. We talked about that. We talked about that in Discord. So if you guys want to jump in Discord, you can hit us up on our Patreon too.
I just troll Eddy there the whole time, by the way. It's fun.
Yeah.
Pete Blackburn had the best Twitter during the World Juniors. By far the best. He literally had the Canadian national anthem going while he was showing all the blocked messages of people saying USA sucks, have enjoy silver.
He was there for the troll. He was there for the troll 100%. Which I was all for because I'm not a fan of how some of the Canadian fans approach those games.
All right, what's the next one?
Last question from Brett. He said, realistically, 4th spot in the West isn't going to be out of reach. Is it better for the team to push for it and allow the kids to play meaningful games, or tank and hope for another top draft pick?
Push it, baby. Get the playoffs.
Absolutely not. It's a terrible idea. Stupid. Here's the thing. I don't think it counts as playing a meaningful game and walk into getting destroyed by Colorado or Vegas. Like I don't need to be a speed bag. It's fine. I'd rather be able to watch something and not have to watch the Ducks get murdered.
Jay?
Does
anybody think they make the second round?
No, I mean it depends who they play. Probably not. I like Steven, I'm always with you. I think the Ducks do need a few more top draft picks. The problem for me is I don't think they're by far the worst team in this division, and that's going to cause some issues in their quest for another top 5 pick, the way everything's kind of laid out this year with the different divisions. Like there's going to be some very bad teams in those other divisions that are going to kind of limit the Ducks in terms of their draft spot this year. Like the Ducks will pick up wins against the Kings and the Sharks and Arizona throughout this season. I would rather a top draft pick 100% than the Ducks scraping into a playoff spot, but I think they're probably going to scrape into a playoff spot or get close.
I just think you have a better. In any spot they have a better shot of winning the lottery than making the second round. And you just got to play the odds. I don't care if you finish 5th. I don't care if you finish last. You know what I mean? I don't care if you have the best record amongst teams not in the playoffs. You have a better shot of winning the lottery than winning a first.
Jason's
I still want to go to the playoffs. I want it to be fun.
Jason's frozen photo is scaring me a little bit.
It looks like he's coming out of like some vortex out of a Doctor Strange movie.
if you're listening to this podcast after the fact and you're on audio, go check out the YouTube on either Twitch or go check out the video on either YouTube or Twitch and you scroll to the end and look at Jason's face.
It's great.
It's not looking good.
Are we at the end?
Well, yeah, we just have an announcement about post-game shows. So Thursday, we'll be back with the first post-game show of the season. We're hoping to kind of do after every game. Originally, we were going to do after every 2 games set, but we'd rather do after every game when we can. For back-to-backs, it will still be the same. We'll cover the second game of the back-to-back. So that means for the next upcoming games, we'll have a show Thursday, we'll have a show Saturday after the second Vegas game, a show after the Wild game on Monday and Wednesday, and a show after the Avalanche game on Friday and Sunday. So our first kind of 2-game set where we won't have a show is the Blues series, where they play the 30th and 31st of January. We'll just have one show on the 31st because there's really no point in doing back-to-back shows 2 nights in a row. There's never enough content to cover. But at least for the first, I think, 10 games of the season, we'll have a post-game show. So we're happy to be back with that. I mean, sort of. They're late games. So that's I don't know if I've mentally prepared for...
There's a lot of 5 o'clocks, a lot of 6 o'clocks. Pacific time.
Pacific time.
Not
yeah,
bad.
that's the key. I'm...
You're saying you big baby.
I'm mentally
Most of the time we're starting
preparing
at 7.
for 1 p.m. show starts, all right?
Or 1 a.m.
1 a.m. show
starts.
starts, right. 1 a.m. show starts, so...
That's when it starts in February, baby. We got a 7 o'clock, a 7 o'clock, a 7 o'clock, a 7, and a 7:30.
Well, the first 2 games of the season
Every San Jose game
are
is
2 10
7:30.
o'clock starts, my time. So 7 o'clock there.
Oh, it's beautiful. In February, backs at 7:30 has been beautiful.
I missed them, though. I missed the post-game show. It's been way too long. And I don't know if I missed the post-game show or I just miss watching hockey and talking about hockey games after the fact. It's a little bit of both. We'll see, because we're going to be right into it pretty quickly. So,
well, if that's it, then I think that's the end of the show for us tonight. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Like Eddie said, we'll be back on Thursday and then again on Saturday. Steven will be joining the show on Saturday's post-game show with Eddie. And Jane will be drinking with Dave and Jimmy. So
win
we'll
on Thursday or loss against Vegas to open the season?
I'm going with a W. Open the season with a W.
I'm going with the loss.
Yeah, why not?
I hope it's a W. That'd be nice. Open the post-game show with a W.
Steven
Let's
reluctantly.
be ridiculous here. Let's do final score and game-winning goal. Let's go for it.
6-4 win with Hampus Lindholm with the game
barn burner.
I think Ducks win a game if they only score 4 goals and the other team scores 6.
I got
a
3-1 win for Vegas. 3rd goal's an empty netter.
I'm taking the fun route tonight. Everything's such a bummer with this team with everybody else.
Steven's got the Ducks getting 6 wins in their first 20, and one of them is an opening day victory. Typical Ducks fashion. They're going to win game 1, get us all hyped, and then lose 15 of the next 20.
Always a good time.
I'll go 2-0 Ducks. Milano gets both goals.
Milano,
because then we'll never see him again.
He'll never play him again. Dave said 7-1 Ducks win. Delorier with a hat trick. Hockey.
It sounds like we're on Ducks Nation on Facebook.
Started off the way you finished it, man.
But
if Delorier gets a hat trick, is that the hair of the dog?
Yeah, it's got to be.
Brett said 4-2 Vegas, Carlson game-winning goal, and Hockey Millennials said Larson own goal for the game-winning goal. Oh, man.
Oh, it's so good. No, realistically, I would go Vegas win. Honestly, I think it'll be like 3-1. That's a 3-1.
It's in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't mean anything, but it's in Vegas.
Nah, that's a tough team to beat, man. That's ridiculous. So
if they only give up 3 goals, that'll be fine with me. Yeah. It's very hard for me to think they give up 3 goals or less, and I'm not happy with how they play.
As long as it's on Fowler and Manson and not Lindholm and Schatz, I'm okay with it. All
right. Well, we will be live probably about 10 to 15 minutes after the game on Thursday, hopefully. We'll be...
So about 9:30, 9:45.
What?
Yeah, our time. Your time would be like 12:45
Yeah,
in the morning.
I was so confused for a second. Yeah, 9:30, 9:45 Pacific time. We'll be live on Twitch. Yeah, Dave just asked. Yeah, we'll be live on Twitch. We're live on Twitch all season. So anything that isn't Patreon related, we're live on Twitch. So our regular shows, the post-game shows, other than, I guess, if we have any interviews lined up for this season, which we've been trying to work on a few, but COVID derailed our Jamie Drysdale interview, which was upsetting, but we might be able to set that up. Well, no, actually, we probably won't be able to set that up until he leaves the Ducks, because the Ducks hate us. So
That's true. Very true. They do not like us.
So we'll try. Once he goes back to Erie, we will try. But we have to wait until the OHL has a season.
All right, guys. Have a great night.